Okay, beautiful. So let's get started in a nice restorative pose, and we will kind of do our centering and do our work there. So let's take the incline position that we've been working with a little bit. So if you have a bolster or a couple of pillows or some sort of soft things to work with, gather those. And you basically want to be able to lay back with a little bit of support so that you're not, if you're comfortable flat, that's fine. You'll kind of know in your body. But for most of us, it's more comfortable to incline back. And I've just found as I've been getting bigger, I'm just having to be more and more careful about how I even come down. We want to really be aware that the belly doesn't cone up when we come down. So just make sure that you're really using your hands to support you, or come down from laying on your side. So I've just kind of got my hands in place and I'm laying back that way. So I'm not really using my abdominal muscles to come down. And if you have extra props, there are a few ways you can use them. So you could have butterfly legs with props underneath the knees. I have a second bolster here. I'm at the studio today, so I have lots of props. So just taking that underneath the knees could be really nice. You can cover yourself with a blanket. You could put a scarf or an eye bag over your eyes. Just taking a moment to really get as comfortable as you can. And again, fidgeting is welcome. It's just sort of part of how you get comfortable in a given moment in the body. And go ahead and sigh a couple of times, just kind of getting comfortable, getting settled. And just allowing the shoulders to drop. And softening the space around the eyes. Jaw soft. And just seeing how much you can relax around baby. So imagine that you're softening enough to really give your baby a little bit more room in your body. So that as you inhale, the space around baby expands. And just really relaxed on the exhale. And especially if it's been a stressful day, if you're just coming off of work, whatever it might be, just stretching the breath can be a really beautiful practice, which just means lengthening the breath a bit beyond what might be natural inhale and exhale for you. And even just doing that, even just lengthening the breath a little bit, helps to calm the nervous system. And this is a really good key to keep in mind if you do have moments where anxiety arises, which is just so normal in pregnancy. It's totally okay to feel anxiety arising. But you can use this tool of just inhaling a little bit deeper, exhaling a little bit longer. It just slows the body down a little bit so that we can come back to the present. And for me, really the theme that has been coming up today for many of us has been holding the sweetness and the joy of this experience, and also the gratitude that we might feel for having a pregnancy, for having a relatively healthy body in this moment, relatively healthy baby in this moment, that we are carrying a child that we're going to love, which is pretty miraculous when you think about it. And alongside that, acknowledging fear and our sorrow and our grief for losses that we've had before, or losses that we're aware of that other people are experiencing. And really using that practice of mindfulness to come back to allowing ourselves to have the range of emotions and experiences that we have in any given moment. And so let's take a few moments in the quiet here just to breathe into the heart space. And the heart is actually really good at holding our joy, our gratitude, our love and care, as well as our grief. And it can actually really hold other people's sorrow and grief as well. But the key with the heart is that we want to be able to really draw in all of the things that we're feeling, and we can do that on an inhale. But on the exhale, really let them go again, especially the emotions and fears and anxieties that aren't even ours. Okay, so focusing on that heart space, kind of around the center of the chest. And taking those really deep inhales, allowing all of those emotions that you're feeling to be present in your heart. And then on the exhale, just letting go of whatever is not yours, whatever is not useful right now, whatever is an echo of a past experience but isn't about the now. You don't even need to know really what it is. Just intentionally drawing in deeply into your heart space. And then mindfully, intentionally surrendering, letting go on the exhale. We'll just take a few more deep breaths here. And if you're noticing in your body that you feel like you need some more time here, like you're not ready to move, please feel free to stay longer, okay, as long as you need. And then when you do feel ready to move, you can wiggle your fingers gently and your toes. You can bend up your knees so that your feet are on the ground. And take some windshield wipers from side to side. So just gently rolling the knees from one side to the other. You can take your arms out nice and wide as you do that as well. Just feeling that gentle stretch along the hips and the lower back. You might feel it in the chest a little bit too. And then we'll roll over to one side so that we can gently press up to a seat. And we're going to take another restorative pose here, staying nice and gentle to start today. And I'm going to offer you Sleeping Baby. which this is somewhat how I've been sleeping at night, actually. One of the things I've been noticing is that the baby is heavy enough that when I lay on my side, he kind of pulls down, which is a bit of a weird sensation. And so I find if I actually slightly turn down, so I'm not totally on my belly, but just the side of my belly is supported by the bed, I actually find that feels really nice for me. So this one is a little hard to explain, and depending on how this feels for you, you might end up laying on your side more. So I'll just do my best to explain as I can. So I've got 2 bolsters. Again, this could be pillows, it could be rolled up blankets. This pillow down here could also be blocks or anything else. It's just a little elevation, but this one should be soft, okay? So pillow or bolster. So I'm gonna come down, I'm gonna start on my side. My right leg is straight and my left knee is gonna come onto this soft bolster here. And then I'm gonna kind of snug up this second piece of support here so that I have my right side of my face, my left arm is wrapped around the bolster, and I'm kind of like in a side lying, slightly turned down position. And my right arm is actually down beside my hip, so my chest is slightly facing down, okay? So again, for me, this is feeling pretty good right now. My belly is supported just along the side. I'm not laying on my belly, so I'm not smooshing the baby or anything. But if you're feeling like, I'm not so sure about this, this doesn't feel good, you could always take the sideline pose that we did in first or second class, where we have a pillow under the side and one under the head, and then we're just laying on the side thusly with that bottom arm coming through, and then you could put something in between your knees as well. So just something to try here. And be aware as well that this upper pillow, again, it's a little hard to describe exactly where you want it to be. I like the pillow, basically it's between my boobs, between my chests. Okay, so it's supporting half of my chest, and the other half is just sort of hanging off a little bit. And the neck should feel supported as well. So I'm just gonna come and check in on you guys, see how this is going, if I can see you. And remember that you can lay on your side if that feels more comfortable and safer. Yeah, and so if you're taking this sleeping baby, I'll show you sort of against the wall what it looks like in case that's helpful. It sort of looks like this. So you have that back arm resting down beside your hip, and the top arm is up roughly in a cactus shape. Yeah. So that looks good as far as I can tell, but the key here is to be comfortable. So feel free to kind of keep fidgeting and kind of find that place where you feel like your belly is supported but not smooshed. And your neck feels good and your shoulders feel good. You might need a little more height underneath your chest or underneath your knee. And keeping in mind that laying on the side is a nice alternative if that works better for you. Yeah. And it's always welcome to ask a question as well if you need to. And then again, once you find a place that's reasonably comfortable for you, you can take a nice deep breath. And continue to breathe into belly. Breathe around baby. And this one is actually really lovely for releasing the lower back as well, specifically the sacral area, which is a place that is very, very common to get pain in pregnancy. And so we've talked a lot in this class about stabilizing practices for this area, which are super important. But here's actually a releasing exercise that we can do. So just thinking about breathing into the back of your pelvis. And even imagining that you could feel the rise and fall of the sacrum itself. And we're just going to be here for a few more breaths on this side. Keeping in mind, again, that if you want to stay a little bit longer, you absolutely can. And if you ever feel like you need to come out early, you absolutely can as well. And then eventually, when you feel ready, just kind of finding your side a little bit more. You might lean back slightly and just gently pressing yourself back up to a seat. And we'll adjust for the second side. Okay, so depending on your props, just gently moving them to the other side. So I couldn't necessarily see what you guys were doing, but I did see a fair amount of fidgeting, which tells me that it wasn't necessarily super comfortable as you were coming down. So do let me know if you have a question. It's really the top bolster or pillow or whatever that's kind of hard to explain. It's essentially supporting half of you like this. Okay, so you've got one arm down and the other one is kind of wrapped around. I'll just show again that side lying pose that might work better for you. So in that case, you've got two props, so something soft underneath the side of your waist. This could be a block or a couple of pillows or whatever, and your arm goes in between. And then having something between the knees would be helpful as well. So this is a side lying pose. And then the sleeping baby has something underneath the knee, ideally soft, but it doesn't have to be. This one, I prefer softer. This isn't gonna work with a block. It could be a rolled blanket. And you're just folding gently down. Back arm is resting on the ground. So you're slightly turned forward from laying on your side. And it shouldn't feel like your belly has a lot of it shouldn't be uncomfortable at all. It should feel really comfortable and supported. Then your shoulders are supported and you can just kind of relax from here. Okay. And let me know if you need to see a different angle or if something's not making sense. I know we're all just kind of working with whatever props we have at home. And if you do have something like a scarf or an eye bag, you could put that over your eyes. And again, just finding whatever comfortable means for you on the second side. And sometimes just fundamentally the second side is more comfortable. You know, they say left side is better in pregnancy. I've often been more comfortable on my right. We were talking a little bit about sort of nausea or stomach discomfort. The stomach drains on the right side, so I often find it's actually quite nice to lay on the right side when I'm feeling like uncomfortable in that way. But laying on the left side can give baby a little bit more space, depending on your body. And as we're resting here on the second side, I'll just come back to this theme that we've been working with a little bit today, and the concept of non-attachment. So we often think of non-attachment as, you know, nothing lasts, so don't get too attached to anything in particular. And that attachment to something like your baby might be harmful for you, okay? from a mindfulness perspective. That's not how I perceive non-attachment. I really like Michael Stone's definition, which is related to intimacy. And so from Michael Stone's perspective, he's a yoga teacher, and he says something like, of course nothing lasts, everything changes. So enjoy it. Be as present with it as you can. Get as intimate as you possibly can with the person that is actually standing in front of you. The thing that gets in our way in terms of attachment is not our love of a thing or a person or our intimacy with that thing or person. The problem is really when we get into a story of what we think is going to happen, who we think this person is in our lives, what we think their role is, what we think our own role is. And so non-attachment is really a practice of letting go of the stories and coming back to the present moment with like a deep, almost painful love that some of us are already experiencing with our babies and our pregnancies, right? This is something that's really precious to us. And so of course we fear what could go wrong. But what could go wrong is a story. It's not a reality. We can't predict the future. And so if we can come back to the moment, ideally in this moment, feeling relatively comfortable in the body, allowing ourselves to rest and just be with this baby that we're cultivating, that we're growing inside of our bodies. And of course, this is going to change. We don't know how it's going to change. We can't predict that. So can we be here with what's joyful about this? Can we be intimate with this moment, this breath? Can we allow ourselves to let go of those stories so that we can just be here? We'll just take a couple more breaths on this side, more if you need more. And then when you feel ready, we can gently come up. So I know it can be a little bit awkward to come up. Maybe pressing into that top hand and rising to a seat. And then you can take your props just to the side. And we'll just do some gentle movement. And we'll kind of go from there. So sitting is perfect. You might want to sit up on something like a blanket or a low block or something. And then let's just take a little bit of intuitive movement. So hands onto the knees. Let's just start with rocking. So forward and back. Babies love to rock, and pregnant bodies do as well. So just coming forward and back. Maybe in circles. Just going as fast or as slow as feels good. And it sounds like some of us, especially into third trimester, there's really this intuitive, energetic slowing down. So that manifests often as being tired. But I think it's also the body's wisdom that we need to just hit the brakes a little bit, right? That we need to slow down and experience what we're going through. Gather our energy, right, for what's to come. So feel free to reverse your direction. And I say that because I'm just finding out I want to go slower. Right? Normally I'm a pretty fast-paced person, but it feels nice to just roll slowly. And maybe allow your head and neck to get involved a little bit as well. Just see sort of where your head wants to roll to. Just nice deep breaths. Yeah, and eventually settling back to center. Just nice comfortable seat here. And maybe reverse which leg is in front, just so you get a little bit of a different sensation in your hips. Hands again onto the lap or beside you would be fine. Roll the shoulders onto the back and let your chin gently drop forward towards your chest. And just let the weight of your head release forward so that you can feel that nice stretch along the back of the neck. And then we can start to add a really mild rock from side to side. So just starting with maybe an inch side to side. So you're kind of stretching the sides of the back of the neck. And there are muscles back here and tendons that attach the skull to the neck, and sometimes they can get a little gripped on, almost like trying to keep your head on straight. And again, if you've been rushing around, if you've been stressed, sometimes these muscles will react. And as you let that movement get a little bigger, just notice that you'll feel different areas of your neck. Just continuing to work mostly with the weight of your head, so not trying to pull the neck or anything, but just kind of relaxing. And as your ear starts to dip over your shoulder, you'll get more into the side of your neck. If you allow your head to tip back slightly, you'll start to feel the front of your neck. Maybe some of your jaw muscles. So just again, intuitively going at your pace. Maybe you find there's a place you want to pause at. Beautiful. Just a couple more breaths. And when this feels complete for you, you can bring the chin back down. And then softly roll the head up through center. I like to take shoulder rolls after that, so just taking the shoulders up to the ears and back and down. And then relaxing the shoulders, we can turn the head like we're scanning the room, but the eyes could be closed. Beautiful. And then we'll come through center. Take your fingertips out beside you. Reach your right arm up and over, coming into a nice side stretch. And I like to do this holding the side of my head so that my neck can relax, and I just get a little more shoulder opening there. So feel free to try that, see if you like it. Press down with your right hip and really lift up your right rib, breathing down into the bottom of your right lung. Sometimes the torso needs a little help expanding as baby gets bigger and starts to push up into the ribs. So side bends are really beneficial for that. Good, and then we'll gently ease off and we'll just come right to the other side. So right fingertips can walk away a little bit, but you can put your palm down. Left arm comes up, and if it felt good on the first side, maybe holding your head with your left arm, just see how that goes. And I'm kind of hugging the elbow in towards my face a little bit and then scooping it up. Pressing left hip down and just breathing deeply into that left lung. Beautiful. And then gently coming back through center. And again, you might want to take some shoulder rolls or a little rocking back and forth. We just want to do one more in seated here, and then we'll change our position. So just sitting up nice and tall, we'll take a little twist. So we're going to focus the twist in the upper body. So you can take your right fingertips around behind you. We'll do both sides, so if you want to mirror me, you can. You can bring your hand across. I'm just holding my ankles these days because I want my belly button to still be pointing straight forward, but I'm just opening my chest to the right, okay? Gather your belly in a little bit so that your core is supported with a little kegel that we talked about last time and pulling the low belly up, so it's almost like we're lifting baby from below. And then from here, you can lift up your right hand, turn the palm to face forward, and then stretch it back until you feel a nice opening into your pectoral region, into your chest. Nice deep breaths. Shoulder heavy down the back, crown of the head nice and light. And then we'll gently switch, so coming back through center, and just switch hands. So left hand comes around behind you, right hand to the ankles or the opposite knee. And then again, draw in from below gently, chest lifted, softly turning. And then you can try lifting up the left hand, palm forward, and spreading the fingers pretty wide as well. And then just stretching back to get that chest and pectoral region. And from what I've heard, this one will be really nice when the baby's a little bit older and our shoulders are rolling forward a lot from picking up baby all the time. So this might be a good one to remember if your shoulders start to feel uncomfortable when you've got a little bit of an older baby. Lovely. And then we'll gently come back through center. And again, a little reset, maybe those shoulder rolls, maybe a little rock, just noticing if you feel any more space in your torso anywhere. Baby takes up a lot of space, especially as we get later into pregnancy. So let's find our way to hands and knees. And we'll take some cat and cow. So just continuing to work with that rocking. So inhaling into a back bend shape, letting the belly relax towards the earth. And then exhaling, curling in, draw baby in gently and spread the space between your shoulder blades, which your body might already be doing for you. A couple of us are feeling that discomfort in the mid-back as the ribs are extending. So just noticing if that's happening for you. And you don't want to go to pain. Okay, we're not trying to sort of yank our bodies open or anything. The body knows what to do. We're just helping, okay? We're just moving some energy through. And if you'd like to circle, okay, or move side to side, feel free to intuit this. So you can close your eyes. And again, just going as fast or as slow as you want to go. And if you're kind of feeling that internal slowdown happening at any point in your pregnancy, that's internal wisdom, okay? So let yourself go a little slower. And if you're not feeling that, that's okay. You might not need that right now. You want to be with what's happening in the moment because it won't last. It'll always change. Beautiful, everybody. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to come down to your elbows. You can bring the palms together or palms down on the earth. I'm just going to widen my knees a little bit. So we're kind of like in a high child's pose almost. And I'm going to we're going to try to do some Kegels right here. So if this pose feels like, nah, I don't like this, you're welcome to come into child's pose. Okay, let your hips come all the way back to your heels. But if it feels okay to have your bum elevated, it can be really nice to just take the weight of the baby off the pelvic floor for a little while, and we can practice that work. And if you haven't yet done last week's class, we talked a lot about the pelvic floor, so that'll be a good one to come back to if you want that info. But we'll go over the basics again here. So as we inhale, soften the belly and imagine your pelvic floor widening. So it's almost like your sit bones are separating. And then on the exhale, draw the pelvic floor in and up. So we talked about a few different metaphors last time. So it's almost like you've got a blueberry that you're trying to pick up with your vagina and pull it up into your body. So that's your exhale. And then on your inhale, relax, so widening, and you're not pushing the blueberry out, okay? But imagine that you're just relaxing, so the blueberry could be free. And then exhale, narrow the vagina, draw the anus in and up. I'm exaggerating a little bit, so my pelvis is actually shifting slightly. I actually don't want that. This isn't a spinal movement. It's just in the pelvic floor. So we just want to feel that work in the muscles around the genitals. Okay, so you can continue like that for a couple more breaths. If you're feeling like you could take a little bit more work in the pelvic floor and you know you're not overly tight, then the next time you engage and lift that blueberry in and up, see if you can stay there on the inhale. Keep the engagement. Can you relax around your ribs and even your belly, keeping the pelvic floor engaged? Beautiful. And then let's come into child's pose proper if you're not there already. So toes can come together, knees can be wide, sink back. And you can rest your head on your arms however you like. If you have a bolster handy like I do, you could put your head or chest on a little more support. And now we're going to focus on relaxing that pelvic floor, which some of us need more of, okay? So as you inhale, feel the sit bones widening. Imagine the tailbone and the pubic bone also widening away from each other. And on the exhale, just stay relaxed. So the pelvic floor might draw in and up a little bit, but it's not a contraction here. We're trying to keep it relaxed, okay? For this part, well, for any part of it really, but I love the image of a jellyfish in the water. So the jellyfish opens its cap in order to pull in water. And then in order to propel itself forward, it kind of squeezes in on itself. Okay, so right now, I just want you to think of the opening of the cap, not the squeezing. Just that kind of drawing in water, widening, opening, yawning. And on the exhale, it's just a floating. Okay, and we'll take a couple more of those breaths. Beautiful, nice, you guys. Okay, let's make our way back up to hands and knees. And let's just take a little stretch out here. So if you're comfortable in downward dog, you could do that in downward dog. Spreading the fingers, tucking the toes, lifting the bum up, and just stretching out the backs of the legs a little bit. So see if that works for you. Okay, some pregnant people love downward dog. For others, it just doesn't feel quite right. So if you don't want to come up, you can extend one leg back at a time, just pressing out through the back of the heel. And you'll get that same lengthening for the backs of the legs without the full inversion. And we don't need to have our pelvic floors fully engaged all the time, just when we need them. Okay, you can have a light core engagement in downward dog, but it's not the major focus here, in my opinion. All right, and then we'll come back to hands and knees, and feel free to come onto your fists if your wrists are getting a little uncomfortable. We're just going to do a little bit of stabilizing here, and then we're just going to stretch out again. I don't think we're going to even stand up today. Okay, so on your hands and your knees, bring your knees just a little closer than you might normally. Any amount is fine. Look forward, pull the shoulders onto your back, and then find that pelvic floor engagement, drawing in and up. Belly button is also drawing up towards the heart. So again, it's like you're trying to lift baby from below and draw the front ribs in slightly, but keep all of your natural curves in your low spine. And then extend your right leg back behind you, floating the leg if you can. And you might want to add your left arm. So lately with this one, I like to feel my belly with my left arm, Just make sure I'm not getting that coning quality happening. Feels pretty round to me, so I'm gonna keep that left arm forward. If it feels a little weird, just put your left hand back down. Okay, you can stay here, or if you're comfortable, we'll add a little pulse. Just sending the right heel and the left thumb up to the sky. Just squeezing that glute a little bit. Again, working on that pelvic stability, core stability. And then gently release. Beautiful. Okay, from here, this is kind of like a clamshell from hands and knees. So engage belly again, just sort of reorganizing your core. Take your same right leg, and as you inhale, open it to the right. And as you exhale, put it back down. So it's kind of like a dog peeing in a hydrant. Okay, so inhaling to open up and exhale to close. So the core is engaged, and you're just very gently opening to the side. It doesn't have to go that far. Try to keep your left hip where it is. And I want you to feel your outer right hip engaging. You might feel your outer left hip engaging too. That's great if you do. Just one more. Beautiful. Okay, and then you can wiggle your tail a little bit. Okay, and then let's try this. Reach your right arm up to the sky, and then thread it underneath the left. I'm needing to widen my knees a bit for that. You can too. Coming down to the side of your face. Left fingertips come just off your mat onto the floor. Push the floor forward with the left hand. Back of the right hand presses down. And just kind of leaning back into your upper back a little bit. If this is too much of an inversion, you can do it higher up, just taking the hand under and leaning back into the upper back from there. Okay, place the left hand beside your face, reach the right arm open, squeeze the shoulder blades, and then gently place that back down. Bring your knees a little closer together. Remember, you can come to your fists if your wrists are getting tired. Okay, this is about as hard as we're gonna work today, I think. Second side. So finding that pelvic floor, transverse abdominis. So think of lifting the baby up from below, pulling the shoulders back, left leg extends back, and that might be plenty to work with here, okay? Right arm can come forward, and if you wanna just feel your belly, just try to make sure it's nice and smooth and round there, not coning. Right arm can come forward. And then maybe adding that little pulse, if you're comfortable. Just sending the heel up to the sky, thumb up to the sky, including the glute. Inhale, and then gently release that. Okay, reorganize the core. So reconnecting, we're gonna do that little hydrant shape. So left leg goes straight off to the left. It doesn't have to be high. And that's on your inhale. And then just as you exhale, hovering the knee back down. And again, we're just looking for a little bit of work in that outer hip, which is hugely important for protecting the lower back and helping to stabilize the pelvis, which gets a little loosey-goosey in pregnancy, and sometimes that causes this pain. Last two. And one. Really good. And then again, you can give your tail a little wag. And we'll try that thread the needle and see how it goes for the upper body. So reaching the left arm up and then threading it under. I'm widening my knees. Coming to the side of your face, right hand onto the wood, back of the left hand presses down. You can push the floor away with the right hand. Left hand presses down, and you're just kind of leaning the upper body back a bit. Or if you need to do it up higher, it's just kind of spreading the space between the shoulder blades up higher. Really good. And then place the right palm beside your face. Reach the left arm up to the sky. And then gently release on your exhale. Nice, you guys. Beautiful. Okay. From here, let's step the right foot forward. So you might want to pad your left knee. And I've just got my blocks up near the top of the mat in case I need them. So I'm going to put my left knee on my blanket. Right knee comes forward. It doesn't have to be a really long lunge. Take your hands onto your hips, square the hips, draw your tailbone down, and press the hips forward until you get a nice stretch into the front of your thigh or quadricep. We're not looking for round ligament pain, okay? So if it feels like sharp or uncomfortable kind of in your pelvis, just back off a little bit. And then interlace your fingers around behind your back, or you could hook your thumbs if that's more comfortable. And just hug those shoulders together and lift the ribs, lift the heart to the sky. Squeeze your bum. This one I love because it's like the opposite of sitting. It's stretching all those muscles that get really kind of tight when we're sitting all the time. Awesome. And then we'll gently release and we'll just switch sides. So right knee is coming onto some padding, left knee forward. Nice low lunge. Hands can start on hips, squaring the hips forward, drawing the tailbone down, and just pressing forward until you get a stretch that feels right for your body. So it shouldn't feel like painful or sudden. And then you can interlace the fingers or hook the thumbs, open the chest. And this isn't really about going back, it's more about kind of lifting the ribs up and squeezing the shoulder blades back. Beautiful. And then we'll gently let that go. You can come back to hands and knees. And then you might want to take a downward dog just to release the backs of the knees, or you could stretch the legs out one at a time. Yeah. And then let's take our pigeon. So if you have a pillow or a bolster or a couple of blocks or anything, you can grab that. So I'm just going to place the bolster kind of halfway up my mat here. I'm going to step my right foot forward again. But this time I'm going to walk it over to the left until I can get my shin and my right thumb down. You could also do this from sitting on that prop. Yeah. And then I've got my blocks in my hands. You don't necessarily need them here, but you could take a moment just to lift your chest up, lengthening, and then you can fold down into your pigeon. So for some of us, the back leg doesn't want to go all the way to straight. This is a pretty intense pose. You could always sit more onto your right hip and bend the back leg and then fold from there. For some bodies, that works much better. So see what works for you. We're looking for an opening in the outer hip that we were just strengthening in those little hydrant pea leg lifts. And for some of us, opening the outer hips is also a really nice way of helping to soothe that lower back pain. Nice deep breaths here. And then we'll gently ease off. So coming back onto hands. So you can come back through hands and knees or even downward dog and extend your right leg up into the sky and back. You could also lean into your right hip and swing the back leg around to the front. So in many people's experience, in my experience, second trimester, you have lots of energy. Third trimester, not so much. First trimester, definitely not. So just seeing where you're at and really honoring that, honoring what your body needs, moment to moment, because it could change in the next breath, right? So as you're ready, let's come to the second side. So if you're seated, you can lean left and swing your right leg behind you. If you're on hands and knees or downward dog, just stepping your right foot forward and adjusting your props from there. So again, if the leg will straighten, that's cool. If it won't, you can sit back and have the back knee bent. It's actually a very similar pose. It just works better for some people. I think it kind of depends on how your hip bones work and also the tightness of the muscles. So taking a moment to lengthen up, there's that hip flexor, psoas there, lengthening as well. Just be aware of that, any pain in the pelvis. And then you can come down as you're ready. And I've just got my elbows on my blocks. You could put a block under your head too. And I really like doing this with support all the time, but especially in pregnancy because we have a hormone called relaxin in our bodies that's lengthening the ligaments a bit. And that's where some of that instability comes from. So we want to be kind of conservative with deeper hip openers like this one. And I find if we have support underneath, ideally both hips, so the bolster is great for that, but you can wedge almost anything underneath the top of your right thigh and underneath your left thumb, just so that you're a little elevated and you don't have to hold on so hard. And then you can get a nice opening without endangering your ligaments. And then as long as you're reasonably comfortable, no pain in the pelvis or in the knee, just nice deep breaths. Beautiful. Let's take one more deep breath. And then we'll gently rise up. So again, see how you're feeling on this side. If you want to press back to downward dog or hands and knees and extend the left leg back and up, you can open the hip, you can. You can also lean left and swing your back leg around. And I just like the windshield wipers usually after that. Okay, so I'm going to offer one more shape that is restorative, yin-like in nature. So it should feel like a nice chest opening. And I just want you to be gentle with, it is a little bit more reclined than the pose that we started with. Last time I tried it, I found it was fine for me. I might adjust back to the incline that we started with if it does feel a little uncomfortable. So I've got a prop wide now. So when you're reclining back when you're pregnant, second, third trimester, you want your heart to be above your stomach, basically. So you want to make sure you have enough height to work with here. So a bolster was good for me last time I tried this. I have a second bolster here, so something of a similar height. It doesn't have to be as soft. It could be a brick as well. It could be a couple of pillows, just something kind of laying back there. And I'm just going to start with that a little higher than this prop and just see how that feels. And actually, I think I'm going to use the blanket instead because it will be softer for my neck. And I'm going to see how this goes. So I'm going to lay back, again, just really carefully using my arms so that I'm not using my abdominal muscles to come down. And I'm going to lay my upper back onto this prop here so that my head can rest back and my arms can go open into the space between the props. And then I like butterfly legs here, soles of the feet together, knees open wide. It sort of lifts the arch up a little bit of the lower back, which can be nice. If it doesn't feel good, you can extend your legs. So feel free to try it. And if you start getting that sort of dizzy, woozy feeling, you're a little too reclined back, so you may need to take the pose that we started with instead, okay? So giving this a try and seeing if it feels safe and comfortable for you or not. We won't be here too long. And perhaps just coming back to that, focus on the heart. Breathing into and expanding the heart. Letting the shoulders drop. Beautiful. And then from here, we'll make our way into Shavasana. So if you're feeling like, actually, this is awesome for me, I want to stay, feel free to. If you're starting to get that wooziness or this just isn't your ideal place for Shavasana, you're just going to gently roll over to one side and then carefully press up to a seat so that you can find your Shavasana. So depending on what your props are there, you might just be able to angle your prop onto whatever you had underneath your head so that you can lay back like that. If you prefer to lay on your side, that's welcome, excuse me. If you prefer to be seated or in some other shape, that's completely fine. We're just going maybe about 7 minutes over time, 8 minutes over time, so not too much. And as you settle into your Shavasana, just taking a nice deep breath. And just receiving the rest. And taking a moment to notice your breath, how you feel. And feeling welcome to stay. If you want to remain in your Shavasana longer and you have time at home, feel free to do that. And then beginning to deepen your breath. You can bring some small movements into your toes and fingers. You can stretch out if you like. And gathering the knees in, and again, rolling to your side if you're not there already. And eventually coming to a seat. And you could take a mudra that feels good for you. So classically, hands together at the heart. Lately, I like one hand on heart, one hand on baby. And perhaps just taking this last moment to really be with that intention to be present with what is happening, including the range of things that might be. And just acknowledging this moment, which is never going to be quite like this again with your baby, with your body. Noticing what's good and letting yourself have that. And then gently bowing your mind to your heart, your hands, your breath, your body, your baby. Honoring and acknowledging your choice to be here in this practice, the long lineage of teachers that is with us in this practice, and again, the sacredness of the land that we practice on. And thank you for sharing that with me as always. Namaste. Thanks so much, everybody. So let me know, as always, if you have any comments or questions, and we can stick around a little bit if you have the time and you have any questions for each other, anything that you want to bring up or whatever. And hopefully I'll see you guys next week.